Okay, let's dive right in. You know that voice in your head? The one that's always on, that constant private little conversation just running in the background? Well, what if that inner chatter isn't just noise? What if it's the most powerful creative force in your entire life?
I mean, really think about that for a second. What if that internal monologue, the one that worries, that replays arguments, the one that dreams and doubts, is literally writing the script for everything that's about to happen to you? It's a pretty wild idea, right? And it means we have to start paying very close attention to what we're telling ourselves, day in and day out.
So at the very heart of this is a concept called a mental diet. Now look, trying to stop talking to yourself is, well, it's like trying to stop breathing. It's just not going to happen. So the idea here isn't to silence that voice. It's to become its director, to consciously choose what it says and, more importantly, where it leads you.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The central claim here is that our circumstances, our successes, our failures, our relationships, they don't cause our inner talk. Nope, it's the other way around. Our private, internal conversations are actually the cause of everything we experience in our world. So if our inner word is truly creating our outer world, how does that even work? Well, to really get it, we need to look at this idea of two different selves, or you could say two different voices that are living inside each and every one of us.
It really breaks down into these two distinct inner speakers. On one side, you've got what the source material calls the old man. And that's our default, negative conversation. It's that inner critic who just loves to replay arguments, who worries constantly, and always seems to expect the worst. But then on the other side, you have the new man, which is a self that's born from an intentional, a renewed conversation that is totally aligned with what we actually want to create.
And this idea is ancient. There's a quote from the Hermetica that suggests the divine power of creation really lies in two gifts that we all have, mind and speech. And it says that if we use them correctly, we're basically like the immortals. That really gives a sense of weight to our everyday thoughts, doesn't it? So the crucial takeaway is this. Your mind and your inner speech are completely linked. They're not separate things at all. They're two sides of the exact same coin. And what that means, practically, is you can't truly change your mind or your beliefs until you first change the words you are consistently using inside your own head. The speech has to come first.
Now, I know this can all sound a little bit abstract, so let's look at a concrete story from the source material that shows exactly how this principle plays out in the real world.
So the story starts with a young woman, and she is absolutely convinced her employer is unfair. In her mind, no matter what she does, he finds fault with it, he rejects her best work. To her, this is her rock-solid reality. And when she looked closer, she realized why. She confessed that she was mentally arguing with her boss all day long. Her inner conversations were just this constant loop of his criticisms and her defensive replies. This was the track her mind was just stuck on. So, she gets some pretty radical advice. Stop having these mental arguments. Instead, she's told to imagine entirely new conversations, ones where he's actually praising her work, congratulating her, and she, in turn, is thanking him for being so kind.
And what happened next is just remarkable. Her employer's behavior completely flipped. He started praising her work, complimenting her efforts, saying things that almost perfectly echoed her new, imagined conversations. You see, his behavior had always just been an echo of her inner talk. She was the one writing his script the entire time.
And this story just brilliantly illustrates the core principle. Our persistent assumptions literally create our reality. It doesn't even matter if an assumption is false to begin with. If we persist in it, if we keep repeating it in our inner conversations, it will eventually harden into fact. The external proof, the signs, they always follow our beliefs. They never come first.
So this brings us to the most important question of all, right? How can we actually use this? How do we apply this principle to consciously change our own circumstances?
Well, the source material lays out a really clear four-step process. First, you have to define your ideal. Get crystal clear on what you truly want. Second, you assume the feeling of that wish already being a reality. Third, and this is so crucial, you change your inner conversations to match what you would be saying if it were already true. And fourth, you persist. You have to live in that new mental state until it becomes your new normal.
The whole process really boils down to this one point of agreement. As the prophet once asked, can two walk together except they be agreed? In this case, the two that have to agree are your desired state and your inner speech. Your internal world has to perfectly match the external world you want to create. They have to walk together.
The day-to-day implications of this are just profound. This isn't just a technique you use once in a while. It's a completely different way of living your life, of being conscious of what you're creating moment to moment.
We tend to think our thoughts just sort of disappear, right? That they just fade away into the past. But according to this principle, they don't. They actually march forward. They advance into your future, where they will eventually show up as the circumstances and events of your life.
This brings to mind that really powerful instruction. I have set before you this day, life and good, death and evil. Choose life. In a very real way, every single inner conversation we have presents us with that exact same choice. We can choose speech that leads to life and good, or speech that leads to outcomes we really don't want. The choice is always ours.
So, ultimately, your future isn't something that just happens to you, it's something that is being formed right now by the words you're whispering to yourself in secret. The power is completely yours, which really just leaves one final question. What are you going to tell yourself today?